Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go to Abdul Samad Yaqub directly after the break. Yaqub Saab, you know what General Katoj said? He said that, again, there were utterances that, as long as the BJP is in power, we cannot have peace. Now, what sort of statements are these? I fail to understand. Who do you want in power in India? When the Congress was there in 1971, when Indira Gandhi was there, it led to the dismemberment of India, So this is national policy. It does not depend upon the BJP or some other party. How can you say that as long as, or rather Imran Khan say, that as long as there is the BJP, there will be no peace? If there is no peace, so be it. Who cares? Over to you, sir.
Well, it was the response of your Prime Minister's statements when he was the first person who says that when there is a terror, as General Katoj said, we cannot talk when there is a terror. The issue of a terrorism may not resolve. We will not talk. In that response, the Prime Minister said that if there is a BJP government, there is no hope. But I personally believe, let's forget about the statements. I mean, we should move forward. We should move forward, and under this umbrella policy, the talk shouldn't be halted at any cost. I mean, I believe.
Yaqub Saab, ek minute. Just hold on, sir. Allow me to come in here and ask you another question. When the Prime Minister of a country makes a statement, it is supposed to be policy. And I'm sure Prime Minister Imran Khan is well advised. He has his speechwriters, he has his, advisors, he has his cabinet, he has the Chief of Army Staff of the Pakistan Army, General Bajwa. He has everybody at beck and call. So you're saying that go beyond statements. What is diplomacy if not statements? Diplomacy is essentially statements. You cannot ignore. You see, what I'm trying to say, Yaqub Saab, and then I'll go to General Dhruv Katoj after that. What I'm trying to tell you is that you have pushed India so much that there is no appetite in India for normalcy with Pakistan. There is absolutely no appetite. Even in the common person, there is no appetite. We have realized that we can do very well without Pakistan. We can do very well without Pakistan. And this is exactly what General Katoj said. And General Katoj is very well read, very well respected. But even if you ask a common Indian who may not be so well read, even his emotions are the same. He will say the same thing that General Katoj is saying. And it is because of, like you say in Hindi, aisi harkaton ki wajah se, it is because of such actions that Pakistan has taken, terror groups, being abusive on a diplomatic platform. So there is a certain sense of gravitas, there is a certain sense of, a formality, diplomatic niceties when you do such things, sir.
Such heated statements came from our Prime Minister after this August 5 step which you taken, the unilateral step about the Kashmir that you taken. At that time, the sentiment of a Prime Minister is justified. I mean, since we are standing with the Kashmiris. But now, if we are going to move forward, I agree that there should be a careful statements which shouldn't be like this much tensed, which create more tension between India and Pakistan. I am expecting that we are not going to have these statements from the both sides. I mean, we can only hope under this umbrella policy. Other than that, what can we expect more?
Okay, General Katoj, sir.
Yes.
What Abdul Samad Yaqub said that, we hope that we will not have statements from both the sides. Now, India has not given out any statements, sir. The Prime Minister of India has not made any statements. I mean, of course, the Army Chief, when asked a question, he will respond because General Naravne is the Chief of Army Staff of the Indian Army. He will say what he has to say. The Home Minister, the Defense Minister will say what they have to say. But the Prime Minister has made no such statement at all. And yet Pakistan continues to push. Now, regarding Kashmir, Yaqub Saab said that we stand with the Kashmiris. My question to you is, sir, what has Pakistan done for the Kashmiris in the past 74 years? Can they name one thing, sir? Their Kashmir that they so proudly call Azad Kashmir, which is actually Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, they don't have an airport there. What have they done for the Kashmiris, sir? General Katoj, sir.
Right. Gaurav, firstly, I want to address this Kashmir issue. I think there is only one Kashmir issue as of now, the way I've looked at it. That means from the original Jammu and Kashmir, which existed prior to 15th August 1947, uh, uh, the only issue which remains is when will Pakistan hand over Gilgit-Baltistan and Mirpur Muzaffarabad back to India? That is the only Kashmir issue. And if they have a different view, well, they are welcome to it. But in India, I think this is the only view. But in the portions which they have illegally occupied, Gilgit-Baltistan and Mirpur Muzaffarabad, a radical change in population has been carried out since 1947. And what the population was existing at that time, the communities which were living at that time, a distinct change has come over till date. As far as development activities are concerned, I think Gilgit-Baltistan has been exploited completely, and they have been exploited specifically to benefit the people of Pakistan, Punjab. So for Pakistan to actually talk about Jammu and Kashmir, I think is something which really boggles the imagination. They have done nothing for what is under their occupation, and they want to take over what is with India and reduce it to that same level. So I'm afraid that is not going to work. The second point, you see, which was stated. Okay, I think India can go along with the fact that earlier the statements have been made by Prime Minister Imran Khan. Okay, he's made them, we can move ahead. Yes, we can move ahead. But the point is Pakistan willing to forego terrorism as an instrument of state policy? Now, that is the only issue which they need to address. If Pakistan is willing to forego terrorism as an instrument of state policy, India and Pakistan can move ahead. But unless they do so, there will be no movement at all.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the status quo. Gaurav.
Absolutely, sir. I have very limited time, sir. I'll go to Abdul Samad Yaqub. Last question, and then I'm wrapping up this program. Yaqub, sir, is Pakistan willing to forego terrorism as state policy? Is it willing to hand over Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and Hizbul Mujahideen chiefs to India? Is it willing to do that?
No, our state policy is never to stand with the terrorism. I mean, we are fighting the war, and we have successfully fought war against the terrorism. And the question of handing over Hafiz Saeed and other chiefs, no, certainly not. We are not going to hand over to these guys to India. They are already. We have a judicial system. We trust our judiciary, and Hafiz Saeed is already in jail. So this is not a question that we are going to hand over any person, any Pakistani citizen to India. Not at all.
I'll go now to General Dhruv Katoch. Sir, Abdul Samad Yaqub says there is no question of handing over Lashkar-e-Taiba chief or anybody else like Hafiz Saeed to India. So they are not willing to give India any confidence. They just want India to believe in a document that was printed somewhere in Islamabad, or if I'm not mistaken, possibly in Rawalpindi. They want us to believe in this 100-page document, out of which 50 pages are secret and 50-odd pages are there in the public domain, but they're not willing to walk the talk, sir.
No, absolutely. Which is why, Gaurav, in my initial statement, I said that this document is a non-starter, because fundamentally it is flawed. If you wish to have a geo-economic policy, it cannot be separated from geostrategy and geopolitics. That is a fundamental principle. And if they wish to merge the three, they need peace with India. And if they need peace with India, they have to eschew terrorism. Now, they are not prepared to do that. So I think we are going to get back to the drawing board, back to square one, and rework the whole strategy out. As far as India is concerned, the stance is very clear. We will not deal with Pakistan till such time as Pakistan continues to support terror groups on its soil which are operating against India. And
absolutely.
So to that extent, I personally see no forward movement in this unless Pakistan changes the fundamental stance of terrorism. Gaurav.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining this very interesting episode of Blitzkrieg. Now, Pakistan may have any national security document in place, but the fact of the matter is, it might even say that we want normal relations with India, but unless terrorism in Kashmir stops, unless the people responsible for fueling terrorism in Kashmir are handed over to India, there can be no further progress as far as the relations between India and Pakistan go. Thank you very much from my team and I. Jai Hind, our own strategic affairs show. Very recently, 24 hours ago, Pakistan unveiled its National Security Policy 2022. This policy, according to Pakistan, has been path-breaking. Pakistan says this is a citizen-centric policy. Pakistan says that it seeks peace, it seeks geoeconomics. But behind these words, there is actually proof of a huge upheaval that is taking place in Pakistan, economic, diplomatic, and above all, political. I have two very important guests with me, guests who will help me and help all of us shed light on this very important topic. I have with me Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director, India Foundation. Sir, a very warm welcome and Jai Hind, sir. I have with me Abdul Samad Yaqub, spokesperson, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Abdul Samad Yaqub, sir, a very warm welcome to our show.
Thank you.
I'll start off by Mr. Yaqub. Yaqub, sir, tell us this new policy. This General Bajwa had also spoken about in the Islamabad dialogues in 2020. He said that the path forward is geoeconomics and not just geostrategy, right? And your previous army chief before that, General Kayani, had also spoken about saying that the problems of Pakistan are actually within and not outside Pakistan. Now, my question to you is, Imran Khan is facing huge challenges inside Pakistan. We know what Parvez Khattak said to him yesterday. It's all over the news. Where do you think this national security policy figures? You want to have peace with India for 100 years. Why didn't you realize this earlier? After having fought 4 wars with India, suddenly you say you want peace with India. What is the trigger for this desire for peace?
No, well, Mesha, this is the comprehensive security policy. It's an umbrella document. I mean, the strategy is not given or mentioned in this policy. But this is not the first time we are saying that we seek peace with India, or we need, and then we are shifting to geoeconomics. When we say that we are going to shift from geopolitics and geostrategy to geoeconomics, we cannot rule out the geopolitics and geostrategy. I mean, geoeconomics, objectives of geoeconomics cannot be achieved by the political stability. With India, even there are the confidence building measures need to be taken with India and from both sides. So as a policy documents, I believe it is the best documents. But what comes in my mind is the question which we raised is that how we are implemented. The practicality of the policy which actually matters. I mean, without the geoeconomics cannot be achieved by the economic independence. I mean, so there are a lot of questions which this is evolving documents for the 5 years, and every year it will be reviewed. And let's hope, I hope that we are going to implement it in a practical way, in a practical manner.
Yaqub sir, you said it's a perfect document, and then you said this is a document in progress, work in progress. It's still evolving. I'd like to go to General Katoch and ask him, sir, on 5th of August 2019, Imran Khan Niazi said, no contact with India, no trade with India, no nothing. He has a habit of making these sorts of final sounding statements, and he did that. And then there was this U-turn, okay, except for pharma goods, no contact with India. Then except for maybe Jahangir Tareen's factories, no import of machines from India. So all these exceptions were given to certain people in Pakistan. But for the common Pakistani, there is no exception. He still will buy Indian goods at 4 times the price, which come from Qatar or Dubai into Pakistan. My question to you is, sir, has Imran Khan again taken a U-turn? Because Imran Khan said no contact with India, and this policy document says something else.
Thank you, Gaurav. Gaurav, the way I look at it is, as of now, this is simply a policy document. And as the spokesperson from Pakistan has very rightly said, it is a work in being. Now, the way I look at it is, I don't see it being implemented. There is no way in which Pakistan can separate their geostrategic concerns with their geo-economic concerns. They're going to tie them up together. And once they tie them up together, then this policy becomes a non-starter. Ultimately, you see, as far as Pakistan is concerned, the way I read the country, what they really require is an economic upliftment. Now, that economic upliftment cannot take place so long as hostilities remain with India. And if they continue to remain hostile, then the status quo will remain. That is one. You see, their internal security problems are also tremendous, and India has got nothing to do with it. And the third aspect, which people are not talking about in Pakistan or anywhere else, is the huge population explosion which has taken place in Pakistan. Since independence, that is 1947 till date, the Pakistani population has increased 7 times, whereas India's population has increased 4 times. Now, you see, for a country with limited resources, for the population to go up 7 times, it is unsustainable. And even now, there is no check on it. So they have got their problems with India, which doesn't permit them to grow. They have got internal security problems. They have got economic policies which are not working. And there is this huge population explosion. So the way I have looked at it is, these are simply documents which are put on paper. They look good. But till such time as Pakistan reconciles its differences with India, which means they have to stop cross-border terrorism, period. There is only one aspect which we need from Pakistan. They need to stop exporting terror, close the terrorist camps, send those people whom India requires to India for trial. Then we can have good relations. Otherwise, it is a non-starter. So whether Pakistan says we want peace for 100 years or 1,000 years, this is simply like Bhutto saying that we'll continue, we'll eat grass, or we'll go in for a 1,000-year war or something like that. You know, this sort of rhetoric from Pakistan continues to come about. But if they genuinely want peace, they will have to stop. They will have to give up the terror card. Their problem in giving up the terror card is, if they seize terrorism within Pakistan, there will be internal turmoil within Pakistan, and they will not be able to handle that. So I think they are caught in a very difficult situation. Even if they wish to close the terror camps, I do not think the public within Pakistan, at least the people who are the more radicalized elements, will permit them to do so. So in my view, this problem is going to carry on, and this document will look good on paper, but besides that, I don't think it is worth anything at all.
Right. Yaqub Sahab, General Dhruv Katot says that this document looks very good on paper, but the fact of the matter is that unless you have normal relations with India, your economy will not take off. Which is true. You have tried the Chinese method, it's not working out for you. You've tried every single method, the Saudi method, the Turkish method. You've tried your ties with Malaysia, with all the entire Islamic bloc. You've tried it with the US of A. It's not working out unless you have normal relations with India. But the problem is, what General Katot says is absolutely logical, and it appeals to everybody who's right thinking. The only problem is Pakistan has pushed India to such an extreme. After the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, not a day went by when Imran Khan did not personally abuse Prime Minister Modi on Twitter. And I have to hand it to Prime Minister Modi that he's not responded even once. He's not thought Prime Minister Imran Khan worthy of a response. He's not responded. Then how can you seek normal relations with a country with whom you have jihadi groups? General Saab mentioned terrorism. You continue to abuse the Prime Minister. You get personal. In diplomatic, in a diplomatic world, you never ever get personal. You criticize each other's policies. You do not criticize, a person specifically who's the Prime Minister of the country. How do you think the relationship between India and Pakistan will normalize? Abdul Samad Yaqub.
Sahab, I completely agree with the General Katosh and with you that the reservations which you have shown, if we need to judge the future, we are waiting since this policy is unveiled. Now what we need to look forward is the statements of the Prime Minister. If the statements of our Prime Minister Imran Khan is the future, then we will see the positive change. If the statements remain the same aggressive statements about Modi, which I personally believe that he should have a soft corner for Modi, even not a soft corner, at least it shouldn't be represented through it shouldn't be expressed by his statements, his blunt statements, which we in a close circle discuss, and we hope that Prime Minister in future go and align himself with this umbrella policy, then only this policy, these documents can be, I mean, the document with the gesture of the Prime Minister and the government and the implementation of the policy. This is what we hope and we expect.
No, General Katoch, you've heard what Abdul Samad Yaqoob said. Also the fact that, like, for example, the Chinese. Now, while we have $100 billion annual trade with the Chinese, fact of the matter is that we are eyeball to eyeball along the line of actual control. And we have lost our soldiers there, and so have the Chinese. This does not mean that the Prime Minister of India goes on Twitter and starts personally abusing Xi Jinping. It doesn't happen like this. I don't know in what sort of a weird space Pakistan works, where they feel that, you know, they can do this and get along. My question to you is, pardon me, sir, get away with this. My question to you is, sir, Pakistan has been threatening a nuclear war for a very long time. Very recently, Imran Khan, in one of his interviews to a foreign channel, said that, you know, Kashmir is, you know, a place which could lead to, or Kashmir is an issue that could lead to nuclear war or war between two nuclear neighbors. This was as early as 3 weeks to a month back, sir. Now, the tone and tenor of this national security policy, you know, the published pieces, I've had a look at it, and the tone and tenor is totally different. Are there two different voices emanating from Pakistan? Is the establishment saying something, and is Imran Khan saying something else?
That is for Mr. Yaqoob or for me?
For you, sir. Please, sir. For yourself.
Oh, yeah. You see, as far as Pakistan is concerned, no, I think there is a duality in policy. The statements which are being made by Prime Minister Imran Khan are really for public consumption within Pakistan. But the problem is, whatever he says, which is for public consumption within Pakistan, it goes out into the wider environment. So obviously, India will also feel concerned. Now, once Imran Khan has openly threatened nuclear war, I don't think India is going to take it lying down. The problem is, every time they get abusive, they get personal against the Prime Minister, they get personal against the BJP as the ruling party. Again, there was a statement made yesterday that we can't have peace if the BJP is in power. Now, that is not the way to look at it. If they wish to have peace, they have to have peace with whomsoever has been democratically elected by the people of India. Now, Pakistan is not going to choose who the government of India is going to be. As far as the nuclear threat is concerned, we have already called the nuclear bluff. But I still think we need to take it very seriously. And the message which must go very clearly to our Pakistani counterparts, we can take a nuclear strike. Can you? Can you take the Indian retaliation? Because not one Pakistani will be left alive. You bomb India, okay, we lose a lot, but we won't lose the whole country. But we retaliate, there won't be anybody left alive. So the onus is on them. Our nuclear policy is very clear. We will not do a first strike. So now the onus is on Pakistan. And if they continue with their rhetoric, well, they're welcome to. But they must also understand what are the consequences of that rhetoric. They must also understand that politics demands or diplomacy demands dealing with whichever government is in power. India has been dealing with Pakistan regardless of which government is in power there, or whether military rule is there, or anybody else. Pakistan has to learn alongside. It doesn't really matter who is ruling in India or anywhere else. Diplomacy demands deal with the situation as it is. If Pakistan is not prepared to deal with the situation as it is, well, the consequences are on them. India can do without Pakistan. Can Pakistan do without India? That is the question which they must ask. My personal view is, very frankly, Gaurav, and I've said this time and time again, please have no relationships with Pakistan because it is a terror state. India needs to declare them as a terror state, cease all relations. You're talking about increasing the diplomatic level. My take is remove diplomacy completely. Unless Pakistan mends its ways, our message must be very strong as far as this is concerned. Gaurav.
Right. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. We'll take a very short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I'll go to Abdul Samad Yaqoob when I'm back. Thank you.